Jimmy Kimmel came out Monday night and was more defiant than ever. Celebrities are circling the wagons, Hollywood ready to defend the man who isn't funny and continues to make jokes about death and destruction. And sometimes it actually happens in real life. Today we'll tell you why there's strife behind the scenes at the Walt Disney Company as they try to decide what the heck do we do with Jimmy Kimmel gone mad. It's a great day. It's a groovy day. Folks, welcome back to the place that brings you the news you need to know and explains what's really going down at Disney and Hollyweird. As we dive in, click that like button. We'll explain what's happening in the insane brain of one angry, defiant Jimmy Kimmel. It's trending everywhere. Everybody calling for Jimmy Kimmel to be let go of from the Disney company, or at least taken off the air from the networks.
I love this subhead. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Free speech, it's context.
It's a context issue. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to give you the context. They're cooking up, and we're talking about Hollywood. They are back to circling the wagons to save Jimmy Kimmel's keister yet again. Weren't we just here? Is this deja vu all over again? Yogi, here we go. The Hollywood Reporter says this: the latest calls for Jimmy Kimmel's firing are nonsensical. This isn't a free speech issue. It's context issues. Tony Maglio has this one. It says, on the September 15, 2025 episode of ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live, Kimmel made the following quip. Quote, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who deleted Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it." The joke, as it was called, was Kimmel's observation of far-right Republicans scrambling to distance themselves from the ideologies of Charlie Kirk's deleter. After initial correct, this is the Hollywood Reporter, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Hollywood trade putting this garbage out there. After initial correct assumptions that accused killer Robinson must have disagreed with his target's conservative politics, incorrect reports circulating stating the shooter thought he was not right-wing enough, it was a weird and confusing whirlwind of misinformation or fake news, as the aforementioned MAGA game would probably prefer. At the time of the monologue, both sides of the aisle were still pushing Robinson's agenda away. No! No! This never happened. This was concocted.
I have never, ever heard this before.
This was concocted by a very, very far left influencer, I think on Threads or Blue Sky, who had concocted this. It's out of nothing. There's nobody ever thought, well, I bet the person who took him out really believed him, just wasn't doing enough, that Kirk guy. Nobody in their right mind ever thought this.
I never heard of it till now.
Kimmel's punishment for jumping to the wrong conclusion was a few nights off the airwaves. The emergence of a newfound adversary in FCC Chair Brendan Carr and a lot of mean tweets directed at the mean tweets guy. Calls for Jimmy Kimmel to be canceled came and went, and so Kimmel went away and came back shortly thereafter. That is not at all what happened. The Walt Disney Company kicked Jimmy Kimmel out. We believe, based on video and photo evidence, that they were actually emptying out the studio, hauling out the Jimmy Kimmel stuff, and then the Hollywood talent agencies told Disney that if they followed through, that they would not provide Disney with directors, writers, celebrities, etc. And Dana Walden, I mean, we know this. They came out and said this stuff. Now, to today, after the faux reframing, the Hollywood Reporter says, on Thursday, April 23rd, putting out a faux White House Correspondents' Dinner roast in a faux tux. It wasn't a real tux. I thought it was a real tux. Kimmel said the following to his faux guest of honor. "I'm happy you decided to stay, Mr. President. Don't worry if we bruise your ego. It'll only make your hands look less disgusting." It goes on to say it was Trump's thin skin that canceled the real White House Correspondents' Dinner tradition of roasting the President of the United States. Thank you, Hollywood Reporter. We're glad you have that opinion. 48 hours before Perlman was guessing blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. Okay, here's what Kimmel said. Quote, "Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow." It goes on to say it's a joke about the husband's declining health. No, this is, I am so sick of the way they do this. Nobody believes this. Who believes this? Does anyone believe this? It doesn't matter if you believe it, because the celebrities are stacking up. They're lining up to defend Jimmy Kimmel. NBC News says Jane Fonda's free speech group urges ABC to resist Trump's demand to fire Jimmy Kimmel. By the way, Melania Trump is now calling for Jimmy Kimmel to be let go. We're calling for him to be removed from the airwaves of ABC. He can go to Hulu. He can go to Disney Plus. But this is too much. And I think the Wall Street cats at Disney, they're going to have to decide what the mouse is going to be up to. Wiz, I want to go to you first on this one. What do you think about the Hollywood Reporter and the Hollywood Trades trying to reframe everything about this? And it is just lie after lie after lie. I don't know if they're trying to trick AI and Google or what they're up to, but no sane person believes any of this.
This is a fascinating situation. I can't believe we're here, especially after the controversy we had with Jimmy Kimmel not that long ago. This is too soon for another Kimmel controversy. But this is Kimmel. He thinks he's immune now because he went through the controversy and he came out on the other end unscathed. In fact, he was more powerful, so powerful that he was then the comedian at the correspondents dinner. So he's growing in power, not in ratings, but power, which is, we put the bunny quotes on that. No, this is absolutely, it's actually a terrifying moment. Whether he stays or goes, whatever happens next with him, we now have in our American culture, the comedian can crack jokes at very large national events about the death of the president. Like that is now in our culture. We have leveled up in depravity, really declined into depravity, in another layer of depravity in our culture. That's really where I want to focus on, because I think he's not going to go anywhere. Disney's going to keep him on the airwaves. I hope I'm wrong, but I hope there is some kind of comeuppance for this, but I don't think there will be. Because, it's just free speech, so we're allowed to...
Wiz, are they going to do this? Are they going to do this until... this is attempt number 3. Are they going to do this until it works? And then Kimmel's going to come on the air after the deletion of the leader of the free world, and Kimmel's going to say, I didn't mean that. I was just joking. But you mean he's dead. You went too far. Is that what we're going to do?
What's crazy is what you're making fun of is there, to be clear for everybody watching... He cracked jokes about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And then a couple days later, he's on there sobbing that that's not what he meant. Really? Because it's pretty clear what you meant. Right. It's pretty clear what you mean now, too. And he should be held accountable, but it shouldn't be a matter of Disney holding him accountable. You know who it should be? His viewers.
He doesn't have viewers. He doesn't have viewers.
Should be holding him accountable by no longer watching his show. We need to take responsibility as Americans, right? As the people who consume this content, it is up to us now. Because if Disney does it, well then poo-poo, everybody's going to nay on Disney for being the ones to cancel. Oh my gosh, this is suppression of free speech, which is you're giving them what they want, which would be more social power. Viewers need to cancel him by stopping to watch his show. That should be the new form of cancellation.
Well, wait, one step further. Viewers need to stop patronizing his advertisers and let them know why. I just looked it up. The major partners of Jimmy Kimmel Live are JCPenney, Culligan, Skechers, and Instacart. Other frequent advertisers and sponsors include Allstate, McDonald's, Starbucks, Kit Kat, Venmo, Smirnoff, and AT&T. Do any of those brands have competitors that you could go to instead? They sure as do.
Let me just point this out. We've got the ratings for ABC, NBC, and CBS, the late shows, all the way back to 2003. If you look at where Kimmel is, and you look at where the late shows were, let's go back to 2003, okay? In 2003, they were averaging 5.9 million viewers on The Tonight Show, and basically 4 million viewers on the late show CBS. Okay? Today, Jimmy Kimmel is on a little bit of an upswing this year, although you can see he's been down in the depths of despair, but he's on the upswing right now with 2.5. 2.5. All this, he's supposedly the darling of the left, and he is now the mouthpiece. He is now the avatar who speaks against the orange man. He's nothing compared to this. If we go back to the 90s, Letterman and Leno were pulling 12 million viewers. If we go back to Carson, he was pulling 20 million. This guy is getting 2.5. And if you go up here, look at the headline. This is 15 hours ago. This is what Hollywood's trying to save. With Colbert's exit, says the late nighter. With Colbert's exit, Kimmel is poised to finally take the 11:35 ratings lead. Not the 11:34, not the 11:36, the 11:35. Why? Why do they put it this way? Because Gutfeld beats him every single
tell
night.
You what's going to be real. When does the comedy replacement for Colbert come in?
It's June, I think.
Yeah,
I think his last month is May.
When that happens, let's see what that does to all these other guys. Where people say, I'm tired. It's been a long day. I just want a good laugh, not all of this chuffa. That's going to kick them all in the pants. It just has to.
Well, let me show you how far they'll go. Okay, with the Hollywood Reporter. I'm going to go back there for a minute. This is in that same article. We're not bouncing around too much. Same article, Hollywood Reporter. They're supposed to report on celebrities, celebrity gossip, box office, movies, director scoops, yada, yada, yada. Okay? This is the Hollywood Reporter. This is the length they will go to protect Jimmy Kimmel. Quote, earlier this month, Dr. Vin Gupta, the senior medical examiner for MS Now, well, la-di-da, said, quote, President Trump is exhibiting all the signs of dementia. In January, Professor Bruce Davidson of Washington State University's Elson S. Floyd College of Medicine said he believes Trump had a stroke. Kimmel's expectant widow joke was not a nice joke. Most aren't. But according to the Hollywood Reporter, it says, show me the lie.
Oh, jeez.
Lauren, Andy, hop in here. This is how far down they'll go to protect Kimmel. There is no basement for their morality.
Didn't we just have a president who was, by all metrics, in severe mental decline? And I didn't hear these same people say anything about that.
Andy, so Biden just had a meeting like last week. He was on a ceremony. They don't bring him out very much, but he was on stage. There was an African-American skinny male, and he thought that man was Barack Obama. And in front of the entire audience, this was the guy who was running for re-election. We're a year removed from him being in office. He thought the skinny African-American man, the skinny black man, who is not Barack Obama, was Barack Obama. You're right, Andy. They have no scruples. They will say anything.
Yeah, I think that there's a problem in the country with just a basic morality. There are some people that get it. There's some people that don't. We see it in the social media that people post with the most vile behaviors as if there's no shame whatsoever. It used to be if you got caught doing something despicable, there would be some kind of social price to pay for it. And I think it's infected into the people that make the content with ABC and Disney. Look, we've seen it. Look how much the writers identify with the villains. The Maleficent. I mean, Jesus, they went and did this thing with Cruella de Vil. Here's a woman who kills puppies, and you want to make her sympathetic. I mean,
Yep. Misunderstood, Andy. She's misunderstood.
Yeah, I'm sure a man drove her to it. They were all male puppies.
Maybe in the live action drag version, they'll have Dr. Fauci play her.
Good. Well, let me tell you, once you find out about some of those experiments, it makes you say,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. We can't even describe what Fauci was up to.
Why I didn't.
But folks, one more time, I got to go back to the article because you have to see how depraved they are. The fact that anybody allowed this to be published on a Hollywood trade outlet, the Hollywood Reporter. Here you go. You ready? Here's the defense for them. And this is the giveaway. At the end of the article, after all this, what are they going to say? They're going to say, this would be wrong. This would be evil. Except, well, it's the orange man, so all bets are off. Have at it. It says, quote, the entire Democrat Party, which, why in the world is the Hollywood Reporter talking about this? Don't know. Here we go. It says, quote, the entire Democrat Party has made their pitch to voters across the country that Donald Trump poses an existential threat to democracy. Geez, Louise, what are we like? 9-10 years into Donald Trump being a political figure and democracy still's here. Can't believe it. Poses an existential threat to democracy that he is a fascist. They compare him to the worst guy maybe of the last century. There were some pretty bad guys, but, he gives Pot a run for his money. Stalin tries to, but,
The guys from World War XI.
Yeah, you got it. Adolf himself. Levitt said at a press conference, these are despicable statements that the American people have been consuming for years. And so many mentally perturbed individuals are led to believe these words are truth and then are inspired to take act on it. Now, I'm going to add here that if you look at the manifesto that we will not put on the screen, and we're not going to say the guy's name, but the guy who tried to do what he did, the third attempt at the correspondence dinner, folks, listen to this. You need to know this. Take this. Talk about it with others. If you look at that guy's manifesto, it reads like a Jimmy Kimmel script. He believes what Jimmy Kimmel jokes about. He believes the talking points. So I agree with Caroline Levitt. And here's what THR says as they summarize this. For the orthodoxy, for the Holly Weirds, Levitt's and others is the most logical argument to my argument. Repeated hateful speech by powerful people can lead to real-world consequences. And it can, and it does, and it will. And then they wrap it up with this. And it might be a fair one, too, if it came from anywhere but the Trump White House. Lauren, this is Hollywood declaring full-blown war for Trump. I think at this point, you can say that article from THR, they will do anything, they will say anything. There are no means unjustified for removing the orange man.
Yeah, there's a number of problems that we're facing here. And I think one of them is that we have, by and large, self-selected into our individual camps. But a bigger one, when you think about this individual who was carrying this out, he's 31 years old, right? And he's a school teacher. And there is a particular ideology that tends to run through the teachers' unions that is overwhelmingly for one side. But I'm more interested in his age. Trump first became president in 2016 when this guy was 21. You know, we're talking about a guy for a full third of his life has heard nothing but this, when admittedly his brain still would have been developing, is still sufficiently plastic that he is not fully yet matured. And when you have an entire ideology that has told their constituents that words are violence and that victimhood confers a special status, of course they're going to try to preserve that as long as they can, because those are the people that are supporting them. So if you can swallow the argument that if somebody says something that hurts my feelings and that means that they have attacked me, and that confers a special privilege upon me to have this grievance and then to enact vengeance, that's what you got to feed to keep those people in your camp, because you're not giving them anything else. So I think we have, in addition to the normal political divisions that we have, we're going to have a generational deprogramming that is going to be required to reintegrate these people into some form of reality.
I don't know how we do it. I think we've bifurcated to the point now. There are two realities that people are living in, two completely different realities. I think part of this came from, I think former President Obama was treated as a quasi-religious figure, sort of a messianic figure. And I think that people bought into that as sort of a mythical belief system, which when politics goes into that arena, it's metastasized into an inappropriate area. And then I believe that when Trump came in, Trump was seen as the satanic figure going up against the messianic Obama. And that it's created the situation where politics is no longer in its proper domain. It's escaped the proper domain. And we're now in some bizarro world where people treat this like angels and demons, as opposed to these are all flawed humans trying to, rise to the top of a flawed organization that is government.
There's another point that I think is important, and that is the level of indoctrination that we're talking about. The only other place that I can think of that has something similar is North Korea. Now, the difference here is that in North Korea, there is grinding absolute destitution and poverty, whereas here we have overwhelming wealth compared to the rest of the world. And it's interesting to me that those kinds of ideologies can be supported and spread in an area where you either have it way too bad or way too good. And in our society, we have things so good that we have a luxury of having all of these things to be offended and upset about. But it detethers you from what actual existence is. Existence involves hardship and learning how to deal with it when it comes. If you're going to allow yourself to feel that words are threats, that's the way a child thinks.
Okay, wait, hold on, Lauren. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but think about this. Okay, let's take that another step. let's say that I'm a person who is sitting at home and I'm not doing well. I'm not going places in life. And I need excuses for that because I'm supposed to be the main character in the story, right? So mom and dad aren't happy with me. I'm not succeeding in college, or if I am, I haven't found my job. And God knows that society has not given me the best hand when it comes to dealing with, the age of AI and all this sort of stuff. And the gender studies degree turns out isn't a real great thing for me. And the debt's crushing me and blah, 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 blah. All right. If I'm a total mess, there's at least one thing I could do for instant virtue. And that is I could watch Jimmy Kimmel and I could rage at the Orange Man for all the problems. And that seems to be the answer. Like, Hollywood is collapsing. Let's all jump on board that one, right? Let's just join in with the new grad SJW movement. And by golly, if I can't fix anything, if I can't help the poor, if I can't, save the kids, if I can't even make up my own hair and make my own bed, by golly, I can say the Orange Man is evil and it's all his fault. And boom, I land in the virtue crowd.
This is why their brand of virtue is purely performative. If you really want to change the world, it's actually going to involve some hard personal work instead of some imaginary, I have made a statement that people are paying attention and therefore I am changing theoretical hearts and minds of people who will eventually change their behavior to make things better. Therefore, I am a saint. That's their version of virtue. And I think we need to get back to actually, if you want to have virtue, do something using your own hands, your own resources to make the world better in a small way. The advantage of that is that small works tend to cascade, whereas theoretical large works are largely theoretical.
Right. If your virtue has no payment involved, if there is no cost whatsoever to you, chances are it's not a virtue. It's just your own vapid narcissism. And that's the problem with Hollywood. That's why they're trying to save Jimmy Kimmel. That's why they put out these stupid headlines about, he said it, and when Colbert steps down, he'll be number one in the 1135. Give me a break. I'm going to be number one in the 1137. I'm going live from now on at 1137 just so I can say, I too am number one. Put this baby to bed. This video is over. Turn off the lights, but not quite yet, folks, because we do ask one final thing before we say goodbye, and that is, would you consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it and stick it to those algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. Also greatly appreciated, anytime you would like to share this out on your favorite social media platforms, well, we would love that. And we'd also love to hear your thoughts. Folks, drop a comment down below and use that beautiful mind of yours. If you would not mind, we'd love to know what you're thinking. Also, if you would like to become a member of the channel, it's as simple as clicking the join button. It is the price of a soda per month, and you'll gain access to all kinds of new, cool, exclusive information. Folks, until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.